So I've been using the iPad for school for about 3 years now, and I'm here to tell you guys why the iPad is a much better device for students compared to a MacBook or a Mac. Let me explain. All right, so one of the best reasons to get the iPad is because of the Notes apps that are available for the iPad. So obviously you have the integrated Apple Note app. You also have Freeform app that's also available, but this is more of a play around with Notes app. It's not necessarily something that you'll use necessarily for school, but it's something that you can use to collaborate with other people, and is a very good app. But also there's third-party apps like GoodNotes that I've used a lot. I've used for signing documents, used for annotating PDFs, used for equations, used for just taking notes by hand. All those things are a lot better on the iPad than a Mac, because on a Mac you're going to use the keyboard. Using the keyboard for math is not necessarily optimal, and these different note-taking apps are also available on the Mac, but the problem with that is it's very hard to use them compared to the pencil. The pencil is more natural, and you can be more free going with the note-taking and the annotating, the highlighting, than a Mac when you're using a keyboard and a mouse. The iPad also have multiple Notes apps that you can use in the App Store, and that's the beauty of it. So if you go and look on the App Store, there's multiple variations of different apps that you can use for taking notes, and the fact that you have a good variation of apps just makes it even better, because if you're using the MacBook, not only is it not optimal, there's less options, and with the iPad you can choose any app that you want, and you can go with the one that fits your needs the best. And some are free, some have a subscription, some are paid. For me personally, I paid for GoodNotes. It is free now, but there is a subscription model if I'm not mistaken, but I paid for it 3 years ago and I've been using it ever since, and it's the best purchase I've ever done. So some people argue against GoodNotes and Notability. You can look up which one is best for you, but there's so many different apps that it's so hard to really know what app is going to be best for you until you do your research. The fact that there's so many different note-taking apps is very, very good, and makes the iPad a way better note-taking machine than a Mac or a MacBook. All right, so the portability of the iPad is one thing that gets overlooked a lot. The iPad is a very thin tablet. The biggest size you can go is 12.9 inch, and since the lightweight of the iPad, the thinness of the iPad makes it very, very portable, easy to check it in a backpack and just go on your way. It's very, very good. If you're going with a 15-inch MacBook Air or a Pro, the size of the MacBook just is too big, and it's very, very hard to compare the portability of the MacBook and the iPad. If you're going with a 13-inch MacBook Air, it is very portable, but you're carrying around more weight with the with the 13-inch MacBook Air compared to a 12.9-inch iPad. But if we're comparing to the 13-inch MacBook Air, it is very portable. That's very nice, but comparing to the iPad, it's not even a competition. The iPad is very thin, very light, easy to chuck around, and this is the biggest size that you can get. If you're getting a 11-inch iPad or a 10-inch iPad Air or a smaller iPad mini or something of the sort, then the portability is not even a question when it comes to the iPads. They're going to be way, way better to carry around, lighter to hold, easier to hold, and it's thinner, so you can put it in more places. So the iPad portability is unmatched, and I think that that's one of the biggest factors, especially for students. So the iPad has a bunch of different accessories that you can use to make the iPad usage even better. For example, I have the Magic Keyboard, which makes the iPad basically a laptop and works very, very well, and is very integrated with the actual iPad OS. So you can see that there's a cursor here that flows around, and it interacts perfectly with the ecosystem of the iPad OS. And you do see that the iPad does work perfectly with the Mac. So you can see that the mouse is being controlled with the Magic Keyboard, and that's just one accessory out of many accessories that the iPad has available to it, and it has more accessories than the Mac. So obviously, to get accessories to fit your use case, the iPad has more of those available, and it's just a better option if you have a specific use case, and if you want more accessories to get with your use case. Not only does the iPad has a bunch of accessories that you can get to make it more useful for your situation, there's so many different types of iPad that you can choose from to fit your use case. For the MacBook, you really have MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and those are the two options, and the variations in them are just the power. But with the iPad, you have the variations in design, color, size, and usability. So for example, the iPad Air might be good for someone that just want to take the light note-taking and doesn't need anything else, doesn't need a bigger screen. The iPad Pro might be for someone that want to do some editing, wants to do some heavy note-taking, and needs a bigger battery. And the iPad Mini might be for someone that just wants to use it for e-reading, or probably just taking small notes, or just using it for anything else that the iPad Mini is good for. But with the MacBook, you're stuck with a whole computer with a whole keyboard. The iPad, the keyboard is an accessory. If you don't need it, you don't have to carry it around. And the days that you do need it, you can simply put it on just like that, and it will look as natural as possible, and it will be very, very useful. Another reason is that the iPad is very easy to use. It's basically the same thing as iOS, but bigger and more suitable for the screen size. So if you know how to use your iPhone, the iPad is going to come as second nature, and you won't have any issues with using the iPad. The Mac, on the other hand, does take a little bit of a learning curve. There's some things, the settings are different, the different apps that you can get, different ways to download different apps, it's all different. So that's going to take you some learning. But with the iPad, it's very, very easy. Even a 6-year-old can use it without having to take a class to understand how to use it. So that's another reason why the iPad is probably the best device that you can get as a student. All right, so just to end it there, the iPad is one great product for students. And like I said, for all the reasons that I mentioned throughout the video, it's a better product than the MacBook or a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, whatever MacBook that you're looking at. This iPad is very, very good. So taking into account the accessories, the ease of use, the lightweight of the iPad, all those things makes the iPad a better product than the MacBooks. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Back to school's coming up soon in a couple of months. So Apple should have a back to school sale for their MacBooks and iPads. Let me know what you think you would get if you needed a new device, or if you need a new device, let me know what you're getting. So like that, we can talk about it in the comments and see which product is actually better for students. So yeah, see you guys later on the next video. Peace.